have you guys actually work on some of the skills that you started last year in AP Lang and chose not to pursue this year for whatever reason. But I want to give you that like AP Lit style prompt so that you're still getting some of that enrichment. So first off, thank you, and I appreciate you taking that risk and taking the opportunity. So today we are going to work down, breaking down the prompt that you guys selected from that list. You'll begin planning your response to that literary analysis prompt, and we'll start doing like a working outline. You're not going to leave here today with like completed outline or a completed thesis, but I do want to get you kind of starting to look at that prompt, figure out what it's really asking you to do, and start to break it down. Okay? Turn to a neighbor, tell them you've got this. You've got this.
Got it.
All right. So our agenda for this morning, we're going to break down that prompt. We're going to brainstorm some evidence. We're going to put that evidence in order and see where you can use it from Adele's house. We'll start working on a thesis statement. We'll get some peer feedback, and then we'll do some self-reflection. Okay. If I would, can I ask you guys to move to your poster with your partner? The only thing that you'll need with you is a marker, so grab one off your table. But go ahead and find your prompt on the wall. So the first thing that I'm going to have you do is read over that prompt carefully. So all of your prompts have been kind of switched from what AP exams have used in the past, and I've kind of reframed them from rather than having you select which text you're going to work with, you're all going to be working with the doll's house. But I want you to read through that really carefully because they're going to have you do probably 2 different tasks within this one essay. So as you read through with your partner, I want you to mark it up, circle any key terms, highlight it, mark it all the way up. Let me give you a minute.
Okay.
I was select the dog, and then like I analyze the nature, so like probably
Accept
require
or reject, because like
Yeah.
when I read like the
nature,
abstract jump to
and
like
then show
someone who like rejects it like Nora, but you can also show someone who accepts it and how that affects the work as a whole. So that just like jumps
Like
out
you
at
think
me.
about Torvald, like he really
Yeah,
accepts it.
and also like I kind of thought of Miss Landon, how she like married someone for like the money, so she like
Yeah.
accepted it, and then that like took, so there's like some routes would be good out for that.
So what's
I
the
kinda-
keyword from yours?
That's something we
What's
definitely.
probably the main thing that you're focusing on?
Well, we kind of went with like analyze and show. So like analyzing first, like maybe describe like the characteristics of the villain, and then for the second, for like the show, we would talk about like how these characteristics kind of like impact like the message of this like the play.
Okay, so you have 2 things that you're doing. You've got to choose that one character and analyze how they're a villain, and then go to this like bigger what it means part. Okay,
It's all under that like one big umbrella, so.
villain is kind of the next conversation. And you guys probably don't have the same one or don't need to have the same one. What are you doing for yours?
I decided to focus on like the most important
Do you want me to do
things
cross
to
out or
look
do you
for
want-
in the actual text of like gender, race, class, or creed differences, and then how that affects the assumptions or moral values.
Okay.
As far as like the actual prompts, the most important things would probably be to select a character and then like show how that works. So you'd have to in the writing actually discuss what happened. And
I mean, you can.
Are you picking more or are you gonna pick a
You
different
can make some
character?
points for every character.
Torvald.
Okay,
Just because I think that it's interesting to examine it not just from the perspective of the people who are harmed by those prejudices, but also who benefit from them, and how they might be harmed by them in ways they don't see. Like how Torvald
Okay, I love this.
was unable to, really appreciate how capable his wife was because of those assumptions. He missed out on potentially years of
Viewing like the major
mutual benefit due to that.
Are you arguing that he's the one that's alienated?
Yeah, honestly, I think that due to his ingrained prejudices, he's alienated from his home, his relationships.
I love it. I love it. You are on it.
I guess we just go through all the highlighted stuff, and I think we should only include like social and familial hierarchies, because economical and political don't apply as much, and if in the little ways they do, it kind of falls under that bigger umbrella.
So are you guys each selecting one of these? Because you don't have to tackle all 4.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
talking about all four.
Okay.
We're mostly looking at these 2, and
Yeah.
then we'll see which ones like apply the most.
Cool. And you don't have to choose the same one either.
Okay.
All right. All right, so I'm going to move you on. Next thing I'm going to have you do, so that prompt is phrased usually as like a sentence or 2. I want you to break it down even further. If you could rephrase that prompt as a question or 2, what would that question be, or what would those main questions be? Go ahead with your partner, write them down right on that poster. How would you rephrase it as a question?
Like what are certain characteristics of the villains in this in the doll's house, and then we can like the next question can be how do these characteristics like change or emphasize the message that Henrik Ibsen is trying to
You do the second.
Sounds good.
Yeah, can you write it as a question too? There you go, I got you. Very good. You got it.
Where's the first one?
I think she wanted.
And I wrote sideways.
No, I think she wanted. Like when you change, you're trying to change that. It's like an actual question, like a question.
The second part is a question. The first part is
You could just do like what are your hobbies in the villain?
that's just the end. Just
So like what characters would be your friends?
Yes, I'm getting that.
Okay.
So by doing this, we just cut off like 75% of that paragraph. which is good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take out all the useless stuff.
That's a lot of.
And that's part of what these prompts do is like they give you a lot of words that you don't necessarily need.
Yeah. It's
And
like
then you get lost and just try and like figure out what are they even asking.
It's like
to
in
answer.
reality, there's like two things in that you like actually like
Yeah.
kind of like need to start the
The
essay.
first two sentences say like the exact same thing.
Yeah, you need one of the first sentences and you need like the last like line that we have highlighted.
There you go.
Other than that, it's
Yeah.
fluff.
Alright. And once you have that question, your prompt probably asks you to do one or two things. If you could break down that prompt, and now that you've written it as a question, it's a little bit easier to do. What are the main chunks that you're going to have to tackle in your essay? Are you going to have to establish which character you're working with? Are you going to have to define a term in some way? What are you going to have to do? What are the main chunks?
Select, analyze, and then explain basically, right? That's what I'm thinking.
I guess.
Because really, like, that's the first thing they tell us is like actually like choose your character, then for like the analyze part, that could be the second chunk. Third chunk's just talk about how like it has an impact on the play.
thank you.
Yeah, there's so many different routes you
Select
could
the
go with this one.
I throw in the short
Versus
pieces.
just actually
Yeah.
get into something
Probably the three-part. I think
Once
the
you guys
two-part
do
is
that
what
first
it
bit,
is.
you're gonna be on a roll, right? Like
Just
which
for
of
the
those
pieces,
kinds of
the
like
third one.
hierarchical
Dedicated to
structures are you focusing on, and then which character?
There
Once
really
you
are
have those
so many
two,
different like.
yeah, and it would be even more complicated because AP Lit wouldn't even give you which text, so you could be focusing on like any book or play that you've ever read. It's
Yeah.
just it's a lot of options
Imagine
there.
I like write my AP Lit essay on Harry Potter.
So what are you guys selecting
Oh,
over
yeah,
here?
Oh, so like select like the character we think is the villain.
Oh, okay.
Analyze how they're actually.
Like how they
Yeah, like literally how are they responding?
Anywhere in there, are you defining what a villain is?
That would we should probably do that in like one of our first few sentences,
I was
right?
going to say in terms of whose perspective it's from.
Okay. So are we talking from like Nora's perspective, from the
Yes, in
audience
this case,
perspective?
Nora's would be the easiest. If you wanted to go through Torvald's perspective, I'm sure Krogstad approach is fine.
interpretation.
Are you both thinking Krogstad?
No, I'm doing Torvald.
He's doing Torvald. I'm more like when I brainstorm evidence, I'm gonna just see like what do I like have more for, really, and like
That's
what
fair.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Sometimes you gotta see what you have in the kitchen to know what kind of meal you can make. I'm that kind of person too.
Yeah, because like right now in my head, like oh, Krogstad's like an obvious villain, but like if I end up like, I think like it's more like blatant that Krogstad is like supposed to be like one of our main antagonists, but like Torvald is like kind of like throughout the entire play, like kind of like demeaning Nora, and we could talk about that as like how he's a villain in her story too.
Not to like add a little bit more complication, but that character could also be like society or like societal roles or something like that. So don't feel that you're locked to like a person, because sometimes those like concepts will play the role of a character in a novel.
between her and Nora
Or
toward the
play.
end of the novel when Nora rejects the hierarchy.
Yeah,
she's
so
also
once you define villain, or you pick which villain, then you'll be able to define it more
So I'm
clearly.
kinda,
Luke, how you
I need
doing?
to like figure out how to.
I think pretty good. I broke it down as the most important thing being like actually choosing the character and then establishing the background of how they're alienated from
Yep.
the society, and then obviously using that to show how that like reflects moral or cultural values, and discussing.
You've got it, and I'm glad that you got that last bit too.
Yeah.
All right, excellent, excellent, excellent. Head on back to your seat for 1 second. You'll come back to your partner in a minute, don't fear. Okay, so I'm gonna give you like a minute and a half on the clock. I want, you got a stack of Post-it notes. On each Post-it note, I want a different idea, so you'll probably use a handful. But what are the different moments from the play that you could use in support of how you want to answer your prompt? So, when Nora X, Y, and Z, when Krogstad blah, blah, blah. What are all the different moments that you think you might be able to use? Let's brainstorm as many as possible in the next minute and a half. And it's one idea per Post-it. We can worry about finding those quotes later. Right now, let's just do a brain dump. So writing, let me give you another 10 seconds or so. Alright, and finish up that last thought. Probably the ones that you listed first are probably the ones that you're going to end up using or most obvious, though maybe not. What I'm going to have you do now is I'm going to have you go back through your sticky notes, and I want you to kind of sort them. So start to move them around. Which one do you think that you'll use first? Which one do you think that you'll use second? Oftentimes in an AP Lit essay, we'll use 2 quotes per body paragraph. That being said, 2 great body paragraphs are better than 3 okay ones. So you're probably going to end up using about 4 quotes. Start to match like which 2 make sense to go together. Label your paragraphs if that starts to make sense for you. If you have more evidence than you need, can you trash them? That's not as obvious, but let me give you like a minute or so to start to actually like break that down and sort it. And then start to label. Are these like 3 different body paragraphs?
These 2 are for the analysis board. This one is
Okay. Do you just want to mark your paragraphs so your partner can see in a second? And then start to label them once you've got them in like paragraphs. Is one paragraph going to be focused on a certain thing? If you need to refer back to your poster, you can. What's the main theme of each paragraph going to be, do you think? Once you get those paragraphs labeled, next I'm going to move you into kind of like an elevator pitch, 60-second speech with your partner. One of you is partner A, one of you is partner B. Your partner letter is denoted at the top of the poster that you're working on now. In 60 seconds, partner A, you're going to tell partner B, what evidence are you planning on using? What's your thought process behind them? How are you kind of structuring your essay? Why are you putting them in the order that you put them in? Partner B, You're just listening closely right now so that you can help that person and give them some feedback.